Welcome to beautiful Albany, New York. The city continues to be a gracious host of the inaugural Aurora Games. All eyes are on the competitors for tonight's event, although maybe the most important eyes here belong to so many of the young girls here who are in attendance and able to witness history, a celebration that is dedicated exclusively to female athletes. Welcome in. My name's Carolyn Mano. I am your host for the Aurora Games. Glad to be with you. We have a lot to show you. We're calling this gymnastics tonight, but it is certainly a lot more than that, as I am joined by seven-time NCAA gymnastics champion coach Valerie Kondos-Field, who is known to many as Miss Val, affectionately I might add, and also my analyst for tonight, Sam Pesek, who is a 2008 silver Olympic medalist and also picked up a couple of titles at UCLA with Miss Val as well. We have had a chance to spend the last couple of days with so many of the athletes here, and the gymnasts in particular have amazing enthusiasm and energy. What do you expect tonight?
Well, we can all expect a great competition, because the reason they were all invited here is because they are great competitors. They're at the top of their game, and they are bringing that. But the most fun part has been to see them at the hotel and in training the last few days, where they're so tight and together. You can't tell who's the world team and who's the Americas.
One of the things I like most, Miss Val, and also Sam, is that we get to be rule breakers here at the Aurora Games. We can basically do whatever we want because we're putting this thing on, and we are breaking some rules. We are doing things that have never been done before. How different is this competition from some we've seen before?
Well, we're going to see the extremes of gymnastics, all the way from the most powerful athletes to the most artistic.
There's a lot to look forward to. We'll take a look at the schedule of events for tonight, and we start with power tumbling, move on to beam, and then we're going to go to parkour, aesthetic floor, which we know will finish with the viral performance on the floor from Caitlin Ohashi that attracted close to 200 million views. We'll cap off a very exciting night here. Let's begin with Caitlin Ohashi. She's been an advocate for victims of bullying and body shamers. She's inspired so many. Miss Val, what's most impressive about her?
The absolute most impressive thing about Caitlin Ohashi is that the more celebrity she has received this last year, the more humble she has gotten, and the more that her voice as an advocate for all of those who don't have a voice has become stronger.
And Sam, Danusia Francis, how unique is her style?
She is so artistic and has a lot of unique skills as well. Her dismount on beam showcases the whole entire routine, and she's also a team leader. She is so excited to represent the team world, not only on the gymnastics, artistic gymnastics front, but with the other disciplines like parkour and power tumbling as well.
The world's Megan Sermon, Miss Val, is one of the athletes featured in power tumbling. What impresses you most about power tumbling?
Well, in artistic gymnastics that we were most familiar with, the athletes do maybe 3-4 skills at a time in concessions. And in power tumbling, they do 8 skills in a row.
And in parkour, what should we be watching from Alexandra Shevchenko?
She has a completely unique style, amazing flow, good transitions from one skill to the next, and lots of flips. So we're going to see flips, twists, and a lot of unique skills from her as well.
All right, Miss Val is going to be roaming the floor all evening, helping us familiarize ourselves with each apparatus, and she is certainly the person to do that for us. Sam and I are going to be with you all evening as we get set for power tumbling just minutes away here at Aurora Games. Games is brought to you by Duncan. Duncan is proud to be representing the sponsor of the Aurora Games Gymnastics competition. America runs on Duncan. And by I Love New York. Find what you love in New York State by visiting iloveny.com. And by Mountain Dew. Do the do. Welcome back, everybody, to Albany and the Aurora Games Tonight event presented by Duncan. We are ready to get things going as we welcome Marisol Castro into the broadcast to introduce the teams here on night 2 of competition. Marisol, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, Aurora Games fans, please welcome to the floor, Team World.
No.
Once again, please welcome to the floor, Team World. Ladies and gentlemen, now taking the floor, Team Americas.
This is awesome.
So, a little bit, couple minutes here, getting things organized. It's a live event. Those sorts of things happen. Let's get over to Val now for a little bit more from Team USA.
Thank you all for coming out. This is amazing having me here. We're so excited to have you here for the inaugural Aurora Games. So please, we've got my Americas on my right and the Team World on the left for power tumbling. The most exciting thing about this sport is that they're going to do multiple flips and twists in a row. So right now I'm going to ask you, Eliza, what are you most excited about to see from your competitors?
I am so excited to see their amazing form and beautiful tumbling.
You as well?
You as well. Me as well.
You as well? And Megan, this is Megan squared right here. What are you excited to see from the Americas?
I think we're both really excited to see the transition run. So there's double straight in the middle and then a double at the end, which is pretty cool. So we're excited for that.
Okay, so all of you, your role up there is to make sure that you can count how many flips and twists they do, because you will be questioned about that at the end tonight. Got it? You ready to cheer loudly? All right, let's get these games begin.
All right, Ms. Val, thank you very much. So we are just getting things started here, working out a couple kinks, Sam. Like I said, that sort of thing happens. But while we have a minute here, let's take a look at the rules for power tumbling. Like we mentioned a short time ago, this is a very, very explosive, exciting thing for fans who are tuning in and who are here to see. What are we going to see here? These passes made by 6 athletes and a score out of 10.
Well, it's going to be a discipline of gymnastics that's performed on an elevated tumbling strip, which, as you will see, helps the athletes to propel themselves higher than a basketball hoop as they demonstrate the speed, strength, and technique while executing a series of acrobatic skills.
And then, Sam, of course, all the individual and team scoring that we're seeing tonight is going to be added together in a cumulative team score that will ultimately determine the winner of tonight's event. As you're taking a look at the rosters here for power tumbling, we have quite a lineup. Who stands out to you? We mentioned Megan Sermon at the top of the show. Eliza Floysand is here, Megan Keeley from Great Britain, and of course Hope Bravo from Dallas, Texas, placing 5th with Team USA at the 28 World Championships.
Well, I've been watching them warm up, and they're doing a lot of similar skills, so I think it's going to come down to the execution. And what I mean by that, are their knees straight? Are their toes pointed? Are they in the right technique going into the flips? This is, of course, just the warm-ups, but we're walking you through what they will be showing us in just a moment.
Okay, so walk us through what we're seeing here. Athletes getting touches, warming up. What is an athlete thinking about at this point in time?
Well, they're getting their mind right, the mentality of competition mode. So like we see in artistic gymnastics, you see floor music on a square floor. Different from that, we are going to see 8 skills connected on a tumbling strip. And so you're going to want to count to make sure they do 8, make sure they do a lot of flips in the middle, and their most difficult pass and their most difficult skill at the end of the runway.
You know, we had a chance to watch a little bit of practice of this, Sam, and it's just remarkable how explosive we kind of bore witness to something new that we haven't seen before as we take a look at Eliza Floysand here, who we mentioned competed at the 2018 and 2017 World Championships, 2019 U.S. tumbling silver medalist, and was the 2018 U.S. tumbling champion. So very impressive way to start out the competition.
Yeah, and Carolyn, I'm going to want you to see the angle of which they hit the floor after each skill, because that's really going to propel them from the one skill to the next. We're going to see them speed up from the beginning all the way to the end. Wow, little hiccup in the end, but the wow factor to me was in the middle of the tumbling pass, she did a double layout, which is 2 flips in the air in a straight body position.
Let's take just another quick look at this if we can. So where does this rank in terms of level of difficulty?
It is pretty high on the level of difficulty. She ended with an easier pass than what she did in the middle, and as you can see by her expression on the face, a little disappointed. We saw her do a little harder of a warm-up pass, but hopefully she'll pick it up for pass number 2 and pass number 3.
So what we have, just a quick second here, want to remind everybody about the scoring out of 10. So we'll get that first score, and then we'll start adding them all together. The goal at the end of this is to have a cumulative score that will tell us the winner, and then the ultimate goal at the end of the Aurora Games is that Babe Didrikson trophy. So Team America is up by 1 right now in that race, but a 9.3 for Floysand here.
And we talked earlier about how we get to be creative here at the Aurora Games, and that's what we're going to see in reflection of these scores.
As we're getting our first look at Megan Keeley here from Great Britain, placed first in the team tumbling event at the 2018 European Championships, as well as second in the individual event. Is this a nerve-wracking moment the minutes before?
It's always
seconds before.
The most nerve-wracking moment is waiting to be able to go, because you're mentally ready, you're physically warmed up, and you just want to get going. But she's done a lot of high-level competitions. Even though she's only 19 years old, she's been tumbling for about 14 years. So we're going to see a bit of an expertise from Megan Keeley. Great positioning. Dynamic double layout to finish. She had a lot of power, which was the opposite problem as Eliza Floysand we just saw. She over-rotated, took that step back, but that's actually a safer way to land than under-rotating like we saw with Eliza.
Pretty impressive, though, as we take a look at the replay up until that slight step out on the landing.
Absolutely. You can see the rhythm. Started off a little slow and then picked up quicker, which was able to propel her really high in the air to finish with 2 big double layout flips.
9.4, so just slightly better than Floysand here. Not by much, but enough to take an early lead.
And I think it's important to note, these girls typically score a lot higher than a 10.0, adding the execution with the degree of difficulty. But today, like we mentioned, we're making our own rules, so it's out of a 10.0.
This Hope Bravo for Team America, as she looks close to being ready to go ahead and show us what she's got.
Nice tight whip shapes. beautiful extension on that double layout.
Looks pretty pleased.
Extremely pleased after that one. Her feet are completely under her when she hits the ground on those whip shapes. Tight arm positions, her arms are completely straight. And check out her hips. They are completely extended as she hits the yellow mat at the end. Beautiful form, great technique, nice extension on the landing.
You really get a sense of appreciation for how difficult the pass is when you get to see the replay, particularly in slow motion. So much technique involved here.
Absolutely. If one thing goes wrong on their first or second element, it's really going to affect their last skill.
Megan Sermon from Great Britain is going to round things out here for the first pass. And as Sam mentioned just a couple minutes ago, there'll be 3 passes. So we'll do them in sections of 4, everybody getting a crack at it. But this, the last athlete in the first round of passes, Megan Sermon from Great Britain, placed 4th at the 2018 British Championships.
So the one requirement of this first tumbling pass is that it's a straight run, meaning we're not going to see any twisting here. Big double back into a whip double back. Great transition elements. She's used to doing a lot of difficulty. We're hoping to see it in her 3rd tumbling pass, but this was a great warm-up for her. Whip into that strong back handspring shape. See how she rises on that double back. Hits beautifully above the ground, which gives her enough power to finish with a double back at the end.
Megan Sermon with a 9.8.
We'll go ahead and take a quick minute to wait for the score here. 9.8.
Well
Really
deserved.
impressive. So Team World in good shape as we step away for just a moment, and we'll be back with more power tumbling here from the Aurora Games in just 1 second. Welcome back, everybody, to the Aurora Games. So as you can see, early on in the competition here in gymnastics, Team World with just a slight edge, 3/10 up on the Americas in the cumulative total. Of course, Sam, as you know, we have a lot more competition to add to that number. We'll be in 3 digits by the time this thing is over. How impressed have you been so far with what we've seen?
I saw some really good shapes on the back handsprings, great rhythm from these athletes, but I think we're going to see a lot more difficulty in the next 2 passes.
As we look at Eliza Floysand again, who will now take her 2nd pass. As we mentioned before the break, each one of these athletes is going to take 3 passes. So this number 2 here as we get set to see these 4 athletes again.
She's a junior in college at Westminster University in Salt Lake City, Utah. Way better positioning from Eliza Floyzan, but unfortunately we saw a similar landing for her. She's really not finding a good punch position before that last skill.
So we've seen, as we take just a quick look, another look at this, we have seen a very large level of difficulty in the pass itself, and despite a couple of fumbles and slight missteps on the landing, some high scores early on in the competition. So in terms of what a judge is looking for, if you can, where's the priority between the execution of the skills themselves and then also just making sure the landing's as clean as possible?
It's really important not only for the execution, good form, legs together, but Eliza's gonna get a pretty decent sized deduction on that landing since she landed with her chest down and she had to take that step forward.
Megan Keeley here, second pass.
Lots of whips connected into a huge, explosive double out, full out. She's happy with that. Check out, she's gaining power from every whip that she does. Twist just slightly early, but full in a layout position is pretty spectacular. And what's impressive to me is that she was still able to extend her hips before she hit the ground.
So a 9.6 in the second round for Keeley. Pretty good. Hope Bravo taking her pass here.
This is their twisting pass, so you're gonna see a lot of twists, just like Hope Bravo did in the middle of her pass and at the end. She was adding that difficulty there.
How closely do these scores mimic some that you see elsewhere in power tumbling?
It's completely different, actually. Usually you see scores above a 10.0 because they add the difficulty with the execution. But for this competition, they're just scoring them out of a 10.0.
Okay, I see. And a look here at Megan Sermon as she gets ready to go ahead and give it a go, Sam.
She had the highest score in the first tumbling run, and it was well-deserved. She had good transition whips, great arm positions throughout the tumbling run. And I'm not sure if she was supposed to do that in a tuck shape or in a layout shape. It looks like it was a little combination of both. Sometimes when you're going so quickly, Carolyn, you kind of not only forget what you're doing, but if you're a little off, you try to change this course and you try to adapt based on where your body position is in the air. These girls have incredible air awareness.
And a 9.6 in the second round for Megan Sermon. As we step away for just a minute, still pretty close score here. 38.4 for Team World, 38.1 for Team Americas. We'll be back with more.
New
Welcome back to the 2019 Aurora Games. Close event so far here, Team Americas and the World, and I'm lucky enough to be joined by an I Love New York representative in Ross Levi. And Ross, I also love New York. This is where I live.
It's great.
It's a wonderful state. The city of Albany has been an incredible host. What makes this special?
Well, you know, New York State has a storied history both in sports and in women's equality. We're, of course, the birthplace of the women's rights movement at Seneca Falls. We're where the Winter Olympics were held twice in Lake Placid. We're the home of the Baseball Hall of Fame. We're the home of America's oldest sporting venue. So it really is a perfect place to be holding an event like the Aurora Games.
What are your thoughts on the power tumbling so far? Have you been able to catch any of this?
I have.
This has been blowing me away.
It is. It's incredible. It's incredible to see what these athletes can do.
Couple of fans here. The thing that resonates with me the most is actually the young girls that are here. It must be pretty special to introduce them into a historic event like this where the women are taking center stage.
Absolutely. You know, it's terrific to see that. New York has a long history when it comes to equality. And, of course, we're a great vacation destination for families, great place for people to bring their daughters and daughters to bring their mothers.
Ross, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you. And enjoy the rest of the games.
Great. Thank you.
Ross, thanks. Let's take a quick look at an I Love New York one-of-a-kind moment, and that, of course, is the tennis from last night. Last night's competition featuring 6 world-ranked tennis players competing for Team Americas and Team World, all of which going to be featured in the main draw of the last Grand Slam tournament of the year. That, of course, the U.S. Open, just down the road in the beautiful state of New York in just a few days' time. Very topsy-turvy night from a competition standpoint, but it was certainly a lot of fun. Team America starting out a little bit slow, a lot of fun doubles play and some interaction there between the teams, and then thanks in large part to the strength of their singles players, they were really able to secure the win. Everything coming down to this exciting finish that you're looking at in the final set between Bianca Andreescu and Victoria Azarenka. We can't wait to watch them at the U.S. Open. It is going to be a lot of fun. As we get back to night 2, gymnastics is the featured event here, and we are going to have a chance, Sam, to watch these athletes take one more pass in power tumbling before we get the final scores.
And this is actually going to be their most difficult pass because we're going to see a double flip in the middle of their pass and a double flip at the end of their pass. So I think all of the girls are going to do them in a different shape, but we're going to see a lot of power in the most dynamic run here. Into that double back, in the laid out position. It was her best tumbling run of the night. She didn't do a double back in the middle of the tumbling class like we're going to see through the rest of the competition, so a little bit easier difficulty. But as you can see, her legs are glued together, good height, good rhythm, and look at that extension. That's what we were looking for from Eliza on the first 2 runs, so really happy for her that she was able to solidify that on her 3rd and final tumble run.
She seems pretty satisfied with that as well as we just wait a couple seconds here for the score, and there it is, 9.5 in the 3rd round for Eliza Floysan. So when you think about everything that she's put together in those 3 passes, she should be pretty satisfied?
Absolutely. Anything over a 9 is going to be something to really celebrate in this competition.
As Megan Keeley gets set here for her last pass.
Lots of whips into the double layout with a half. See big smiles from the coach there.
How difficult is it to control that momentum?
Oh, it's extremely difficult. She does the double layout, spots the yellow mat, and then makes a really sharp, quick turn. See, she was a little out of control when she landed with those arm position, but it was the perfect timing for the twist.
Couple of high fives there to the fans who are here in attendance, and we mentioned just a short time ago, it's great to see so many young girls in the audience getting an up-close look at an event like this, a discipline like this, athletes like this who are women, who are strong. What wonderful role models to set. Absolutely. As we see Hope Bravo here for her last pass.
Most of these girls started off in artistic gymnastics, so for these young girls in the crowd to see another avenue of gymnastics is going to be really exciting for them tonight. Double layout layout. Ooh, big hit. And as you can see, wasn't able to get enough energy to work out of that double layout. She was trying to add the difficulty, and that's really where the strategy comes into play. She's explaining to her coach exactly what happened. She gets a lot of height, but doesn't get her feet under her enough. And we call that a buckle. When you buckle your legs and you really just don't have enough power or momentum to finish the rest of the pass.
Most of us know a little bit about what that feels like when your knees buckle or your ankles buckle, but we certainly have no idea what it feels like when you're flipping.
Absolutely.
The height that Hope Bravo is, but still a smile, shrugging it off. Those sorts of things happen as Megan Sermon will round things off here for us.
And I was told by Megan Keeley, an interesting fact, that when they tumble, the weight amounts to 19 times your body weight. So imagine buckling your legs when you walk, and 19 times that is how these girls feel.
That's a great description there.
Big finish with a double layout, full out. Again, loss of control there at the end, but was able to add the difficulty as these girls are still training for bigger competitions for their year to come.
Just one last look here as we round out the power tumbling, the first discipline that we're going to see here on night 2 of the Aurora Games, and a 9.7, the score there. So if you add all of that up and consider the cumulative score, the world right now up 1. We'll step away for just a moment, come back, have a little bit of reaction, and then move on. A lot still ahead here at the 2019 Aurora Games. All right, welcome back, everybody. So we take a look at the score here. The first event, power tumbling, just reaching its conclusion, and the overall competition, the world 57.6 and America's 56.6. So here is a look at what's coming up next. This is the balance beam. We're going to have 3 competitors for each team, and we'll talk a little bit about scoring when Sam Ree joins us in a couple of minutes. For now, we're looking at the warm-up here for beam, and we're going to hopefully have a little bit of reaction from Sam. Here we go. Sam, take it away.
Thanks, Carolyn. I'm with Megan Sermon. She really round out. You were the last 4 to go on the tumbling passes. What do you think of your tumbling runs tonight?
They were all right. I've done better, but it was really fun to be out there and be with those girls, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Well, you did well enough to secure a little bit of lead over Team America. What does that mean to Team World starting off early?
It's a good step, good step. We got a bit of work, but, you know, we can do it, we can do it. The girls have got it, I think.
You were the first competitors here at the Aurora Games on the Gymnastics Day. What are you looking forward to watching for the rest of the competition?
Everyone. everyone's really good at everything, so it'll be really good to watch, I think. It'll be a good competition. Yeah.
And what do you think of Team World's chances here tonight?
I think we can do it. We can do it. Yeah. We'll cheer everyone on, and I think we got it.
All right, thanks, Megan. Back to you, Carolyn.
Sam, thank you very much. And while we wait for Sam to come back over here and rejoin us, we will step away for just a minute. Athletes on the beam getting ready to compete. We'll be back with that in just a few. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are getting closer and closer to the start of Beam. It's one of the things that we're really excited about to bring you in tonight's competition. And Team World just up 57.6 here, so certainly a lot of competition left to go, but things remaining close early in the competition. So, Sam, if we can for a minute, let's just go ahead and bring back the Beam rules here and explain how this is going to work tonight. We're on a 10.0 score like we've seen earlier in the competition so far. How different is this from some of the other scoring that we've seen in Beam?
It's really different from the FIG scoring, which a lot of times you see scores that amount to 15 points. But tonight we're going to see NCAA scoring rules, so everything's out of a 10.0. Caitlin Ohashi has scored perfect 10s in her career, as well as Danusha Francis. So it's pretty even in terms of talent across the board for Team Americas and Team World.
As we get set here, let's go to Miss Valligan to set up this apparatus a little further.
We are back over here now. Balance beam. As we all know, this is the make or break event in gymnastics. And as everybody asks, yes, it is only 4 inches wide. But we're going to see a lot of great things here. Nothing more spectacular than Danusha Francis's dismount. She's the only gymnast in the world that does this. Danusha, how are you feeling about that?
Well, the beam was a bit damp this morning, so it's given me a couple of confidence issues, and I did a dodgy warm-up, so just wish me luck.
So what are we thinking about the mat, Danusha? I've noticed you've got an extra mat here for your dismount.
Yeah, so this is something that isn't cleared in the FIG, so coming to events like this when they really appreciate you pushing the boundaries of innovation and allowing you to have an extra mat is amazing. So yeah, it's an honour to be here representing Team World and showing off my skills.
We appreciate you giving us some innovation. Thank you so much. We've got the Americas, we've got the Worlds. You guys ready to go? All right, let's see some balance beam.
All right, Ms. Val, thank you very much. So we'll set the table for you here with the balance beam rosters for Team Americas and Team World. McKenna Kelly, Alicia Boren, Caitlin Ohashi. Courtney McGregor, Tatiana Nabieva, and Danusha Francis rounding things out for Team World as we introduce Shannon Miller. And Shannon, I have to tell you, 7-time Olympic medalist, of course, and a member of the famed Magnificent Seven. We've talked to a lot of different women here who are at different age points, different timelines along the course of women's sports history. Young girls, older women. My timeline fits squarely within the Magnificent Seven. Stop me if you heard this story before, but I think I was maybe 12 or 13, and that is the Olympic moment that I remember. I remember where I was sitting in my living room watching women compete, and I thought, man, I didn't think I could ever do that, but I thought that's amazing that you're doing that, that they're doing that. I mean, how important is it to you to celebrate women in this way?
You know, I think it's so important because there are young girls out here in this arena watching on television. They're watching these women compete. They're watching the high level of activity. They're watching a whole bunch of different sports that they may have not been introduced to yet. So it's important to see that every day, see it more than what we're seeing now on television. So these athletes get introduced to it and they have the opportunity to try it.
Miss Val has described this event as different excesses, different levels of speed. We're kind of swinging the pendulum back and forth, and we just saw power tumbling, which, as Sam has described too, is a real treat for the fans who are here because they don't normally get to see things that don't fall under the umbrella of typical artistic gymnastics.
Absolutely, and it is amazing to watch. You can see the power that they have, and you'll, of course, see that power here over on the balance beam 4 inches wide, as we always point out, but it is incredible to watch these ladies work.
Taking a look here at McKenna Kelly, the daughter of Mary Lou Retton, 4-time All-American, as she goes through her routine here. And Shannon will have you sit with us for just a couple minutes here. Can't think of anybody better to do that as we just get our first glimpse into what the beam competition will look like.
And McKenna Kelly is really known as a powerful athlete. She just graduated from LSU, and she actually didn't really compete balance beam very much. She only competed it one time this entire year. So getting the call to come back out here, she took it as a really amazing opportunity to finish her career here on the balance beam and gearing up for her dismount, looking like it's going to be a hit routine, not only for McKenna Kelly, but also starting off Team America on a really nice beam routine.
I had a great opportunity to spend the morning with McKenna, and it was so much fun listening to her excitement about her time at LSU, and then watching her compete here tonight on balance beam is fantastic. Here's her dismount, a nice stuck landing to finish off a wonderful balance beam career.
For someone that came in the most nervous for balance beam, it looked pretty incredible to me.
When she was 2 months retired, when she kind of found out, oh, I have this amazing opportunity to compete at the Aurora Games, and she was all in for it.
And Shannon, you know what that's like. You played an April Fool's joke on everyone earlier this year about making a comeback to the sport. How difficult is it really for gymnasts mentally to come back to a sport like gymnastics after being out for a couple months?
I think you're right. I think it's even more mental than it is physical. I've made a couple of comebacks in my career, none of them all that successful, but it was really fun to kind of make that joke and pretend a little bit earlier this year.
So a 9.7 to kick things off for McKenna Kelly. She has her mom's trademark megawatt smile, although she mentioned that her mom allowed her to forge her own path. And to Shannon's point, she had her own collegiate path. She did things her way. It's great to see her here as we introduce Courtney McGregor, who will now get started on her routine. McGregor from New Zealand.
No, she's competing for Team World here today, but she's actually going to be a senior at Boise State University. Came early from her vacation to do this competition as she's still training for the World Championships later this fall.
A great mount to start off her routine. I love watching the difficulty as you mount onto the beam.
For beam, it's really important to be an icy competitor, we like to say. Someone that's extremely solid no matter what's going on around you. And for Courtney McGregor, she knows how to handle that pressure as she was the very first artistic gymnast to represent New Zealand at the Olympic Games since 2000.
No pressure there.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful beam routine. She's very steady, and this is a tough part. She's not really even into the season, coming off a vacation to compete here. Nicely done.
Wow. Beautiful ending to her routine. And looking one more time at her series, back handspring, layout 2 feet. Looked like it was going to be a little shy, but she does a great job of getting her chest up so quickly at the end.
and a look at her dismount here.
Great full and a half turn. It is so difficult. We always point out those forward landings, and she nails it.
So we'll just take a minute here and wait for Courtney McGregor of New Zealand. Her score for Team World, as we keep track of things for you, is a 9.8. So impressive score there for Team World. As we step away for just a minute, we'll be back with more from the Aurora Games right after this. Stick with us. Welcome back, everybody. A look at the night closing in Albany, New York. We've been fortunate enough to be here for the last couple of days. It's a beautiful place in a beautiful part of the state of New York, and as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, very welcoming place to be for all of us as we try to do something new here at the Aurora Games. It's not easy when you're starting something new, but everybody here has been very friendly as we go ahead and introduce Alicia Bourne here from the United States, who's getting set for her routine.
Alicia Bourne just graduated from the University of Florida, and we talked about this with McKenna Kelly just a little bit ago, that all of the Team America girls actually retired from the sport of gymnastics in April. So I actually think Team World has an advantage in some regard because they were all still training and still are training for future competitions.
How quickly does that fitness fall off?
Very quickly, I would say. Like we talked about earlier, it's not only the fitness level, but it's that mentality of getting back into shape, remembering what it's like to do a series on a 4-inch beam. All of those things are factors when coming back to a sport like gymnastics.
Is there fear associated with coming back? I mean, getting on a balance beam like this in an unusual environment, being out of it for a little while, or is that a silly concept that an athlete that's so used to this kind of repetition would embrace those kinds of emotions that regular people have?
I don't know if it's really fear of a particular skill or event necessarily, but a lot of times it's fear of the unknown. It's fear of what did my career end with, and now I'm going to, am I going to affect that in any way?
Oh.
We're going to look at the replay here and see what happened. It looks like she may have missed a foot, but she recovered, and that's one thing that gymnastics teaches you. It's how to fall safely.
That was a really interesting skill. Her coach, Owen Field, was standing right there, and it was exactly like what you were talking about.
The inside foot, or her outside foot just slipped onto the inside. You can watch her bottom foot there.
What is the key to saving that when something like that happens to you and you know that something's gone wrong?
You know, it's almost instinctual. As a gymnast, you've fallen so many times. You understand it's one of the first things you learn, how to fall safely, how to hit the big parts of your body and protect yourself. And instinctively, she knew how to do that.
So a 9.2 for Alicia Bourne after that unfortunate error there, as we introduce Tatiana Nabieva from Russia, 24 years old, 5'5", a gold medal in team at the 2010 World Championships, silver medals in uneven bars in team at the 2011 World Championships, as she gets set to jump on the beam here and show us what she's got.
And what you guys didn't see is her world teammate, Danusha Francis, just went up there and chalked the beam to make sure that if it was slippery before, hopefully a little bit of chalk will absorb that water that's on the beam, making it hopefully stickier rather than more slippery. And it looks like it's the same spot right there that is causing these gymnasts a little bit of trouble up there on the beam.
And that's the trouble with coming in. You always think of, okay, the balance beam, it's 16 feet long, it's 4 inches wide, but there is a difference from competition to competition, and even the climate indoors can change that. The beam's a little bit moist just with the ice underneath the flooring and whatnot, so you have to kind of work with that.
We showed you the schedule at the top of the show. The Aurora Games is a large undertaking. There's a lot of overnight scene changes that take place to be able to have these events, and there is a layer of ice underneath as the women are set to play hockey in just a couple of days. So it's been a tall order and a creative task for everybody that's been working really hard here, but of course some of the effects of that is that there's a little bit more humidity in the air. The beam, as you just mentioned, Shannon and Sam as well, might be a little slick, which could be problematic, but hopefully everybody stays safe. That's, of course, the goal.
Absolutely, and she has picked up with really a tremendous routine ever since that first miss, and I love how all the teams are rallying around her and cheering for her.
Finishing with a roundout full. She had a lot more difficulty on the beam, and that's because she's used to competing international. Like you mentioned, Shannon really picked up right where she left off, and without that fall, it seemed almost flawless.
And she looked just a little bit low on the landing, that left foot a little bit off the beam. Hard to save it at that point.
When you see someone before you compete and you notice that, you know, maybe they've had a little bit of difficulty, as you see the nice save there, and we'll finish up a look at the dismount. Is that something that can get inside your head as well and maybe force an unforced error, so to speak? I mean, are you kind of thinking about that at all when you get set next?
I think the hardest part about making a mistake is that you have to finish the routine. It's easier to make another mistake after that rather than finish it up.
Just a quick look here at Danusha Francis, who is getting warmed up. We're going to step away for just a second, and we'll be back with more from the Aurora Games right after this. Welcome back. Oh, geez, look at those troublemakers. Nadia Comaneci, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, and Donna DeVerona, 3 complete legends in their own right and clearly not having any fun. You guys both know Nadia Comaneci. She is an absolute mischievous troublemaker, legend. I'm sure she was having a little bit of fun, but certainly one of the icons for so many of these athletes here.
And speaking of icons, Tatiana Nabieva, when I had a chance to speak with her about her gymnastics idols, she mentioned Nadia Comaneci, but she also mentioned you, Shannon. So talking about Carolyn, you earlier watched Shannon on TV. I also watched Shannon, so her and her team inspired me as well as Tatiana. And so being in the position that these girls were once watching their idols, they get to see somebody like Caitlin Ohashi up here on the beam and being able to bring so much joy to this sport.
Absolutely, and talk about an idol for so many young women out there. Caitlin Ohashi on balance beam, what a tremendous performer.
She has certainly generated the largest reaction from the crowd, and that's because her floor performance that we are going to see in just a short time here at the Aurora Games generated such a viral reaction, close to 200 million views. But more than that, she's decided to use that platform and the fame that she received so quickly, so unexpectedly, to immediately embrace that and be an advocate for body shaming and bullying and some of the harassment that has happened in this sport and also with youth. And I think in this time, so many people just responded to that. She's been an excellent champion in that regard.
And an excellent routine thus far. I haven't seen her break or wobble at all.
There's something that she's phenomenal at, and it makes her unique from the other competitors. She really performs like it's the floor. You can't see her worry. She doesn't look afraid, and she clearly has not lost her competitive edge because it was a near perfect routine. We'll see what the judges have to say about it, but I didn't see any deductions up there.
She decided to go pro in order to participate in these Aurora Games after graduating from college. As we take a look at the dismount here, and a congratulations from Miss Val, and said that she just wouldn't miss this opportunity to get out here and do this sort of thing another time.
Absolutely. You know, this is the fun part of gymnastics. It's being with your teammates, and NCAA provides that opportunity. But now to go on to events like this, you can see the smiles.
She hit a phenomenal beam routine, so it's one of 2 routines that she's going to do here today. But we asked her, how do you define success here? Is it hitting these routines? Is it Team America winning? And she said no. Just being asked to be a part of this amazing Aurora Games is really success for me. She said that joy in bringing us all here together is a win. But, of course, you know, Team America is what she said would be a win for her as well.
And Sam, like you said, a high score was expected, and it was for Caitlin Ohashi, a 9.9, which I think is the highest we've seen so far here in competition.
Absolutely.
A couple 9.8s in the power tumbling as Danusha Francis gets going here. What a great start.
But if there's somebody that could rival Caitlin Ohashi, it's Danusha Francis. They were, at one point in time, teammates with each other. Wow.
Okay, and we know how difficult it is to get back on top of the beam after a move like that. It is incredibly difficult, lots of strain.
She told me yesterday she wasn't sure if she was going to do that. She knows it's a crowd pleaser for obvious reasons, but she says it takes so much strength that I get really tired when I get back on the beam.
I love seeing all the smiles during a balance beam routine. I never had the confidence to do that.
I was going to say, Shannon, she seems very natural on the beam.
She was the 2016 NCAA beam champion.
She is in her element right now.
She's also in competition shape. She's going to compete at the World Championships coming up, but in previous years,
tries to save it.
She's
and
still
falls
performing
very gracefully. That's right. That's right.
Now, will she go for her dismount here?
Her mat is set up. I think she's going to do it.
It's one thing that gymnasts are used to doing, finishing the routine. Mistake or not, you finish.
And Sam, explain what makes this dismount special.
First of all, no one in the world is doing it. She's doing a flip sideways on the beam to a beautiful stuck landing. Way to finish that routine.
That was impressive.
As we take a look at,
and these are so difficult because, you know, we look to those big moves, the layouts and the fulls and all of these, but sometimes it's the leaps and turns that get you.
Finishing with a super impressive, one-of-a-kind, back sideways flip off the beam to a full. Nice finish.
Shannon Miller, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. 9.4 for Danusha Francis. We'll step away for just a minute and be back to hear from Danusha when the Aurora Games returns.
Fish's favorite sports team? Now we're going back to Felicia. Who is Kate's favorite artist? Favorite artist? Yep. It's Chance the Rapper and Georgia Smith. Ready, Kate? Yep. What is Fish's favorite gymnastics skill? Double A. Oh my gosh, come on! Yep. Felicia, you lost the point! Get back up! Yep. How did I lost the point? I can hold it down here all morning. Alright, ready? Yeah. What is Kate's favorite food? Oh my god! Kate lost the point! Take it out.
Team World is winning.
What is Kate's favorite food?
It's not.
Favorite TV series?
Oh, shoot. What is that one?
Aurora Games is brought to you by Jeep, the summer of Jeep Cherokee freedom to do it all. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And also by McDonald's, proud sponsor of the 2019 inaugural Aurora Games. As we just take a look at the score here, welcome back everybody, 86.1 to 85.4. So in the beam competition, the Americans were able to score a 28.8. That was a little bit better than the 28.5 that the world team is able to put together, as we check in with Sam once again.
Thanks, Carolyn. Caitlin, you were retired in April, but actually came out of retirement for this competition. How difficult was it for you to put a routine back together?
Honestly, beam, luckily, is one of the easier things to put together. As for Lloyd, that was a little more difficult, but at least it's only been 4 months, and I don't typically practice that much anyways because of my body and all the numbers that I put in prior to. So it wasn't too bad, and I'm a gamer, so like I love competition.
Not only are you a gamer, but you're a performer. You were smiling up there and treating it like it was the floor. What's the secret in doing that?
That's literally the secret, just treating it like it's floor and having as much fun as possible, because beam can, if you trick your mind, it can be fun. And so I do the best when I'm having fun, and that's what I try to embody on beam.
There were a couple of mistakes on beam from your teammates and also from Team World. It's still a competition as much as it is fun to perform. What's the key for Team America taking the gold tonight?
I think we just need to stay focused, and as well as fun balance, I think. So focus and joy and kind of staying together and connected. And I mean, obviously the goal at the end of the day is to win, but this is such a cool event, so.
It's the first time in history that all 5 of these disciplines are competing under one roof at the same time. What are you looking forward to most for the rest of the competition?
I've never heard of competing with parkour, so I'm interested in the scoring. I think that'll be really exciting, but just seeing all the disciplines together is and I mean, this is a pretty good turnout, so I'm that's really cool to see.
You stand for a lot of empowering things from your viral video. You recognize that platform is important. How crucial is it for the Aurora Games for you to be part of that? It really supports women in sport.
I think this is really cool, and on top of that, I was a gender studies major, so to have this platform and to continue rising, and I think in terms of especially gymnastics, we don't really have pro gymnasts, and it's only the Olympics, so to have this platform to look forward to is just a really awesome experience to be a part of, and I'm all the people that are here are so amazing and fun.
Thanks, Caitlin. Good luck in the rest of the competition. Carolyn?
Sam, thank you. Caitlin Ohashi, interested in parkour, and that is what's coming up next. One of the most intriguing new sports in the world. It has urban roots, and for many, it has Olympic dreams. You will not believe the level of athleticism on display in Albany when we come back. Welcome back, everybody, to the 2019 inaugural Aurora Games. So this is something that many people are not used to seeing as we get set for parkour. The heart of parkour beats in the streets. Parkour originated in the ghettos of Paris. It's since developed into a hugely popular street sport. Athletes using their bodies, they interact with the environment, and they're able to find challenges in movement that push them athletically and creatively and psychologically as part of that process. And this is something that athletes want to keep a sense of integrity to, but organized parkour, rapidly growing phenomenon that is really allowing athletes to test their skills. So what we're going to see tonight, parkour is broken down into 2 events featured here, speed and style. Speed, essentially a time trial across this predefined course. This can sometimes come down to thousandths of a second. And then style is made up of creative freestyle runs that are judged on 4 criteria: movement, connection, skill, difficulty, execution, and structure, interaction. Highest score possible, also a 10, as we check in with Sam now.
Thanks, Carolyn. I'm with Joseph Henderson and Ling Jung. They're both professional parkour athletes and legends in their own right, but tonight they are 2 of the 4 parkour judges. Joseph, what are you guys looking for in tonight's run? I know they're doing speed and style.
Yeah, so for speed, we're looking for the athletes to run the course through the checkpoints as fast as possible. It's a race against time. For style, we're looking for them to put together a line that they've created earlier today. And we're going to be judging them based on the difficulty of the tricks that they perform, based on how well they execute it, so how well they're landing movements, how well they connect them. So we're looking for the end of one movement to be the start of another, for it to flow through their line like water. And we're looking for them to interact with the obstacles creatively, where parkour differs from gymnastics. One of the ways is that we're looking for athletes to interact with the obstacles in ways that we might not have seen before, rather than repeat tricks that we know they're going to do. We want to see them to really use their unique styles to give us something that's going to sort of excite us. And yeah.
Parkour is a street sport, but in recent years, it's been brought into competitions, arenas like this one. The athletes didn't even know the course until this morning. What can you tell us about this course that was built for them today?
Yeah, so parkour, very much the heart of it is in the street, but competitions like these have been a great way to give athletes the opportunity to showcase their abilities and create like career opportunities out of the sport. What we look for in a course is for it to replicate the kind of environment we see on the street. So we're looking at hard obstacles. There's no crash mats, it's all concrete or wood and steel. The course today is made from wood, shipping containers, and it's very much replicating the kind of environment that they would be training on out in the street, outside, so that what they show us today is exactly the kind of thing you'd see them performing on buildings, on walls, just like in the outside environment.
Thank you. And Lynn, parkour is a male-dominated sport. What needs to happen to increase the female demographics?
I think there's so much that could be done. The most important thing, I think, is to make female athletes visible, to show the world that there is female athletes in the sport, and I think that would encourage more, hopefully young girls, to start with the sport, go out and just play outside and hopefully get into sport that way.
And within arenas like the Aurora Games, there's also been discussions of the possibility of adding it as an Olympic sport. What kind of visibility will that do to the interaction with your sport?
I think if there's equal opportunities and chances within those competitions for women and men, then that is definitely going to help increase the female percentage in the sport. But I do believe that it doesn't have to come through competitions, because parkour is it's not inherently a competitive sport, which makes it such a beautiful art that you don't have to compete. You can, and it's fun if the course is fun, but it's more about you create content, you put it out on the internet, people see it. That is something that could encourage people to start as well.
Parkour is an extremely demanding sport, and it does have a lot of gymnastics abilities, but what makes it unique, like you mentioned, is that culture here in the parkour community. Carolyn, back to you.
Great job, Sam. Thank you so much. I know we're all trying to learn as much as we can about something new. We're going to step away for just a second, and when we come back, it is time to see parkour in action here at the Aurora Games. We'll be back. Welcome back. Oh, how cute.
I remember being that age and wanting to be a gymnast, just like these girls out here today.
And I remember being that age and loving a snow cone. I'm glad those are available for all young kids here at the 2019 Aurora Games as we check in with Miss Val for a little bit more on parkour before we get started. Val.
I'm over here at the parkour course, and I'm so excited to be here because I have never seen parkour in person. I've only seen it on the streets and actually on the campus of UCLA all the time. And I'm so just blown away by what you all do. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the fact that this course, it was built yesterday. You've never seen this. I'm sorry. This course was built this morning. And I'm speaking right now with one of my all-time favorite gymnasts who became parkour phenom, Alexandra Shevchenko. And I would love to know what you think about the difference in artistic gymnastics and parkour.
Yeah, this is what parkour about. You should adapt your body, adapt your skill for the course you see first time. You have just few hours to create your line. This is the wet floor, too far, too close. Adapt yourself for this hard life.
But you know what? What I've seen with all of you athletes is when you first came in, you were slipping and sliding all over the place, and you have adapted so well. I'm just so impressed by the sport, and I can't wait to see it live and in person. Are all of you? All right, let's get started.
All right, Val, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Before we get started, let's just take a quick look at the rosters and show you who is competing here tonight. For Team World, we have Silky Solfranc. We have Stephanie Navarro from Colombia. We have Camila Stefaniu from Brazil, Alexander Shevchenko from Russia. So a stacked roster as we get set here. And Sam, I kind of went through a rundown of what parkour is and what we can expect, but here's another breakdown just of speed and style. Each competitor 2 times around, and we'll have some cumulative scoring. Is that right?
Actually, it's going to take the best score. So they're going to get 2 opportunities to go through the speed round, and whichever score is the lowest, because it's speed, will be the chosen one, and that's going to get a score out of 10.0. And then the style is where they're going to be able to add their creativity. We're going to see lots of unique elements, and from what I watched in warm-ups, each of these 4 individuals have a completely different style.
Okay, great. We can't wait to watch. This is something that has really gotten the crowd going a little bit here as we get set for parkour. Let's check it out and begin competition here. So Stephanie Navarro is from Colombia. She is the 2019 Montpellier World Challenge Cup Speed Run gold medalist. As we get our first look at what this looks like.
The objective here is to get through the course as quickly, as efficiently as possible.
It's important to note that parkour athletes don't want to be referred to as gymnasts. They say this is not gymnastics, this is our own thing, and we have our own technique. And of course they want to stay true to those roots of being in the street, keeping it urban, having that feel. They don't want to be identified under those terms.
It's a completely different culture, like you mentioned. And also, another important thing to note here is that they have to go right at all of the red flags and left on all of the yellow flags. So even though they have to go as quickly and efficiently as possible, they do have checkpoint flags that they must hit in order for the round to count.
So we'll just wait for a second here and get a sense of what the scoring will look like. Silky Solfranc from Germany. Very athletic, has been on a lot of the shows that people love to watch, Team Ninja Warrior, that sort of thing.
And to me, what that says is that she can handle the pressure. She knows what it's like when the time starts to get through as quickly as possible, as safely as possible, and to keep her prize right there on the end. Adding a little bit of a show to her performance, even though that probably won't be judged.
The judges looking for a number of different things here, but even in the speed competition, we see some variation in terms of what these athletes are trying to accomplish in the shortest period of time.
They can choose to go over elements, under elements, whatever they think they're the quickest at. So it's really an individualized routine, for lack of better words, to get through it as quickly as possible. Big jump onto the first platform, leaping all the way through. Nice slide.
She's
for
safe.
the end. Yes.
Our next competitor here, Brazilian Camila Stefanu, first South American to win a worldwide parkour competition. She's already building quite a resume. She gets sets to go.
She just competed last weekend, and she's only 17 years old. Extremely impressive for a young age.
Wow.
And
a
we
little bit
see
of style there at the end.
A little different variations from competitors, because that's the strategy component. They can decide how and when they want to check and interact with those checkpoints that we mentioned earlier. Here's the replay, and as comfortable as they look, they didn't even get to see the course until this morning. So a really important factor for parkour athletes is that adaptability and how quickly they can interact with this new course that was created for them.
You know, this sport is in its infancy as we take a look at Alexandra Shevchenko from Russia. We've talked about her over the last couple of hours here as she gets set, but it reminds me, Sam, of covering something like freestyle skiing at an Olympics. I was lucky enough to cover that when the sport made its debut, and it had a very urban feel. The athletes were a very tight-knit community, and with you interviewing Joseph Henderson and Lin Jung, who are very much a part of this world, and also judges. I mean, athletes are the ones that are judging this competition. It reminds me of that a little bit, that there's an integrity here of being outside the status quo that they want to keep in place. Did you get that sense?
Absolutely, and each one of these athletes seems to specialize in something different. And when I had a chance to speak with Alexandra Shevchenko yesterday, she is definitely a style athlete. We saw her have a little bit of hesitation here on this speed round, and I think that's because she said she gets really nervous for the speed round. She says sometimes she gets her chest ahead of her feet and causes her to mistake, so she has to slow down and breathe throughout her run. Making sure she really grabs a hold of those wooden blocks there. Wow, also coming from that gymnastics background, so we're gonna see a little bit more of that foundational element in the style round.
So big wave there. The goal of this being speed, so how do these athletes prioritize, you know, getting through the course quickly while also still offering something that's unique? You know, really impressing the judges with something that is going to elevate their scores. If you take a look here at Stephanie Navarro once again from Colombia.
The goal is hopefully to have a little bit of repetition to go as quickly as possible. They can choose to change it up. They don't have to do the exact same route that they did the very first time. And another good run from Stephanie.
Yeah, very athletic run from Stephanie. Although she's giving herself a bit of a shake there, I'm not sure. Maybe she feels like she could have done a little bit better, but hey,
yeah.
Better than most.
When I spoke with Stephanie before the competition started, she said her body hurts from training yesterday, and I think that's something to note about these parkour athletes is they are always training, and not in a gym, not on soft surfaces. They are training in the street, in that urban style that you mentioned, Carolyn, and that really takes a toll on their body. The most expressive competitor that we've seen today.
You know, one of the things that's really fun about parkour too is they have these street names. You know, Silky is known in the streets, so to speak, as Silky. Camila Stefano of Brazil, known simply as Camila. She's like the Jordan or the Madonna, or, you know, there's a whole culture here, a subculture that people inside the sport are familiar with. And for everybody on the outside, this here an opportunity to start to get a feel for it, because when you were interviewing Joseph and Lynn, I think you alluded to maybe the Olympics or the future of parkour at a professional level as we take another look at this run here. This is something that's going to continue to evolve.
I think I completely agree with you, and that's really where the reservations from the parkour community come in, because as much as they want it to grow and want it to receive the recognition that it deserves, they really want to uphold the integrity of which the sport started, and that's really having no rules, essentially, and doing it for the pure joy of finding different, unique ways to climb on buildings and up the walls and flip around. And so to see this in a little bit more of a controlled setting is what we're going to see more of.
Camila here with her second run. Skill, speed, style, all on display, as she mentioned. Nice high jump there to get over the wall.
To me, the baggy shirt seems like it would add an extra second onto them.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about, Sam. You can't give up the street.
I know.
You can't give up the style.
They made a point to say that the main emphasis isn't to win competitions. It's, again, that joy of just doing it and being with your friends and seeing new, innovative ways to go through these courses. And that's what really makes parkour different and unique from the other disciplines we're seeing tonight.
From Team World, Alexandra Shevchenko.
One last chance here in speed for Alexandra Shevchenko of Russia. Don't let the baggy shirts and sweatshirts fool you. This is really athletic work being done. Well, do you think this compares to some of the more traditional styles of this type of expression?
I think we're going to see more typical parkour, what we see on Instagram, what we see on social media coming up next in those style rounds.
I'm really looking forward to that. So Alexandra Shevchenko for Team World.
But you mentioned earlier, there's an ice skating rink underneath here, so it's really chilly. And as I was interviewing them, we talked about how it's even colder over there. So that must be why she's wearing that sweatshirt, to stay warm, to keep her body loose.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. One more look at Shevchenko here. I didn't realize, you know, that you bring up a great point, Sam. This is a sport that originated in the ghettos of Paris and outdoors. I mean, the elements, the physical elements are certainly a part of this. More so than maybe other sports, even though this is an indoor sport.
There's different parts of this sport, from the way they perform, from the preparation, and of course their attire.
So we'll get our heads together on the scoring here, and we'll take a quick break and step away, and we'll be back with the style right after this. Welcome back to the beautiful city of Albany in New York, the 2019 Aurora Games, the inaugural installation of a very big concept and idea. And one of the gentlemen that was instrumental in getting that process going joins me now, Dan McCoy, who's county executive for the city of Albany. You really had a helping hand in putting this all together and ensuring that this event made it to your city. Why was it so important for you to do that?
Being a father of 2 daughters, it was so important that you see what women athletes have been doing for generations, and you just see what happened in, with the soccer team winning the 4th trophy in history. I wanted to bring it here to Albany and highlight women athletes and show the talent, what they do, and the trails that they set for a lot of women coming up in sports. And, for my daughters to look up to somebody and saying, hey, you know what, not only can I lead in a sport, but also they become our future leaders.
I think that's a key part of change and evolution in women's sports is a lot of these fathers who have young daughters and all of a sudden want that kind of equality. They want to be able to say to their daughter, yeah, you can have everything that the men can have in sports. And I think that affects change. And even those small steps like this, these are action steps here in the city of Albany. Your daughter can come here and see that, hey, you know what? I could maybe do parkour one day. Yeah. What are your impressions of parkour so far? I mean, you talk about skilled female athletes. We've seen a number of them competing in more traditional gymnastics, and now we're seeing something completely new here.
I think it's exciting, because it's a mixture for everybody. And, everyone's different and unique in the way they like to use their talent. And I was watching these women, I got to tell you, I was a little scared. I was like, somebody said, could you do that? And I go, I think I'd be hurt on the first event. But, it's exciting to watch it. And to watch them come out and compete, not just against, Team America against the world, but to see all these athletes from 20 different countries come here on Albany County, highlight the state of New York. It's so exciting to be the county executive here to really say, look, we want this not just here in the state of New York. Everyone in this great world of ours should be paying attention more to women's sports, especially after the Olympics, too. You set the stage there, too.
Well, we're so glad that you're here with us. We thank you for joining us as we get set here for the style competition in parkour. Dan McCoy from the city of Albany, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so we will turn our attention to the second half of this parkour competition. This is the style event. This is what we've been waiting for. And Sam, as we get set here, you think we'll just see a little bit more flash here? We'll see a little bit more of what makes parkour particularly unique, this extra added factor of being able to show off a little bit?
We're going to be able to see their individuality here. And when I spoke with some of the judges before the competition started, they said it was a really cool group of 4 athletes that they brought to this competition because they all have a completely different style. And I asked them, what does that mean? And so I'm excited to walk that through for you guys and really showcase what makes these athletes unique and what skills they're going to be showing here in the course of the run.
All right, so as we get set here for the style competition, just want to update you. We're working our way through how the scoring is being judged overall. And the time of all this, we're kind of managing those issues, but I can just tell you right now that currently Team America is up by 3.3 points. The score right now 104.4 to 101.1. So Team America is in good shape. The timing here is being monitored, but we'll go ahead and take a look at the same format here for style where the best time counts for each competitor. The slowest run is eliminated. So we'll kind of see all these athletes go through and then figure out which time they're going to keep.
So this time is based on a score of 10, and that's because they're assigning whoever has the quickest time gets a 10. Second fastest time gets a 9, and 8, and then 7. But here in this style competition, it's actually having deductions similar to what we see in the gymnastics setting.
This is phenomenal.
Oh, wow. And that symbol right there means that they're finished with the run.
So very different than what we saw in the speed competition.
The main goal of the style round is not to go as quickly as possible, but it's to be as creative as possible. And that's really what differentiates these two events. Back tuck, full, on down. And in artistic gymnastics, touching your hands on the floor would be a deduction. But here in parkour, if you touch your hands on the ground, as long as you're in control, it is no deduction. And she has a gymnastics background. She was actually on the Spanish national team in artistic gymnastics. She quit the sport because she went to school and still wanted to stay active, which is how she found parkour and how she found her love for this new sport and new discipline of gymnastics.
So Stephanie Navarro of Colombia. Just kind of taking a quick break here, waiting for things to get set again as we will run through these athletes, very similar to the way that we did in the speed competition. 8.4 her total after the first run of style.
Good flow here. Connections from one skill to the next. And doing it with a smile on her face, might I add.
How would you describe her style?
She has a silly style is the first thing that comes to mind, but it's great that she can add that personality, but still stay disciplined and focused enough to get her elements accomplished in this run. When I asked the judges, they described her style as very smooth, flowy. It's going to be interesting to see what the judges do with this because, as you can see, she has a completely different style from Stephanie Navarro, who we saw was the first one to go. Her flow is a little bit quicker.
Almost looks like something you might see in a more artistic gymnastics format there on the medal bars.
I think when the flow is really good for these parkour athletes, it looks like a dance, a choreographed dance, so to speak. But let me remind you, it is not choreographed. They just found out the course this morning. So they crafted these routines. They're extremely adaptable athletes, and they're being rewarded for it today.
8.9 for Silky Solfranc as we move on.
A little insight from the judges. A bad score is anything under a 6. A decent score is anything between a 6 to 8, and a good score range is between the numbers of 8 and 10. Moving quickly through those bars and finishing with a pretty big move there at the end. A flip and a twist at the same time. I'm seeing smiles all around, Carolyn.
What a start here.
Nice, powerful front tuck to get things going. Hopping onto these bars. Moving through them and using them to propel herself onto the platform. And a full butterfly twist to finish things up for her, hoping to gain that difficulty that she's hoping to receive.
This is a great
on the score
as well.
Yeah.
Team World and Team Americas from the power tumbling and beam routines earlier. Everybody's curious about what parkour is. We just heard Caitlin Ohashi mention, hey, I want to check this out. I want to see what this is about. And now the outer ledges of this arena, this format, this setup for the parkour athletes is lined with those athletes trying to get a peek of what's going on.
Well, I spoke to Nadia Comaneci, who is a legend in gymnastics, and what she said about parkour, she said, I thought gymnastics was crazy, but parkour is insane.
Is there less room for error on a course like this?
Yes and no. I think there's more room to innovate. So when you make a mistake, it's easier to recover than in the gymnastics setting. However, I agree with you. It's a little bit more dangerous in the sense that there's no mats here. It's not a soft surface that they're landing on. Really unique run here by Alexandra. And she's really known to do that.
she feels confident in this round because she just came off of 3 competitions. The Japan freestyle champion, and she was the free run silver medalist. Because of this right here, the style component. Forward roll.
This was really cool.
Quickly into that front gainer, half to the back tuck. Big smile to finish.
Strong finish for Alexandra Shevchenko of Team World. The Russian having a little bit of fun after as well, interacting with the crowd and her teammates, that sort of thing. She waits for her score.
I asked Stephanie Navarro to describe Alexandra Shevchenko's style, and she said, it's just Russian. I said, what does that mean? She said, it's a very high difficulty style and unique transitions, which is exactly what we saw here tonight.
8.7 for Shevchenko. Crowd, Sam, seems to be very receptive to this. I mean, there's a curiosity factor like we've been talking about, but the energy has picked up a little bit in the building since these athletes started to perform, these women kind of piquing everybody's interest here.
I think it's interesting to note it's a sport that really has been growing solely from social media, from YouTube videos and crazy montages that we've seen on Instagram. So for these arenas to create organized competition, it's special for the kids in the audience to see that they could do this too one day if they wanted to.
A little bit of chalk here?
I'm not sure. It's like rubbing something on her shoes. It's definitely to help the
like
slippy, slippery aspect of that platform.
There you go, a little bit of chalk.
Chalk. It looks like it's in a coffee grounds bag.
Anything's possible in parkour style, so we didn't know what was happening. If she was going to hand out coffee beans, you know, everything's on the table here.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, but a little bit of chalk there for Stephanie Navarro. She gets set for her second attempt.
Front tuck, half to get things going here. They might do some similar elements, but the judges told me we can expect to see mostly different course runs from these athletes. Round off, back tuck to finish things up. We saw different directions, we saw different elements, challenging herself to see which one will score higher. And just to remind you, the speed course is based solely on time, but while the style course is based off of 4 important deductions: movement connection, skill difficulty, execution, and structure innovation. A really important aspect to the score system is how relevant they use these structures. All other categories that are held constant, if a skill is performed on the ground, it's going to get less points than a skill that's performed on a platform, off a platform, or any other structure that's built within the course.
.8 for Navarro. Two thumbs up for Silky, as she's known, as she gets that chalked up as well. So a lot of these athletes making sure that everything is very dry as they attempt a higher level of difficulty with the flexibility of the style portion of this.
Yeah, and with an athlete like Silky, she's quick, she's fast, she's efficient. Her difficulty comes in those spinning elements, those twists onto the bars, off of the bars. And one of the most important aspects of the judging, like I mentioned before, is the movement connection. And that means that the movement should be seamless, transition from one skill to the next. And that's another factor that differentiates parkour from artistic gymnastics.
Really moving through the course quickly, but with a high level of difficulty. And having a lot of fun while she does it. You know, you mentioned, Sam, that they haven't had access to the course setup ahead of time, that a lot of these routines haven't, you know, been able to develop for that long before it's time to execute them. I mean, in a competition like this, that's a little bit of style. It's about flash. It's about having fun, that sort of thing. And the judges being athletes. How much room is there for a little bit of improvising as we see Silky pick up an 8.6 there? I mean, are there going to be things that you're feeling? Maybe you throw something in, or, you know, or get creative on the fly, a little bit of that.
I think that there's a lot of room for that innovation, changing things up as you go, especially having 2 opportunities to run this course. But like you mentioned, they just saw the course this morning, so they had no idea what skills they were planning before today, really. And so it's important for them to be as prepared as possible with a lot of tricks up their sleeve to see what the course entails.
And what a start here for Camilla. Oh, I thought that was going to be a little bit more wild than it was. I didn't know what she was going to start with.
Nice. You can see the different styles, and Camilla started off slow, getting things going. It's very opposite style than what we saw from Silky, who was that quick, fast, efficient transitions. Camilla is really precise, likes to get high in the air, and she's a very technical athlete. That's what she's known for. Big jump. Followed by another big jump. And we talked about earlier with the power tumblers that the impact is 19 times their body weight, but that's on a floor that is bouncy and for propelling them to have more power. But something like platforms, when they jump that high, I can only imagine how much impact that causes on their joints and on their bodies.
Camilla waiting for her score here. They really do make it look easy.
That's what's really impressive to me. And when I was speaking to them, they said that's the most fun part of their sport, is not knowing and the innovation and creativity. But for me, coming from a gymnastics background, that would give me the most amount of anxiety, not being prepared with a routine coming into the competition.
So Camilla gets her score, and we will see Alexandra Shevchenko of Russia one last time. I love that Joseph Henderson told you that it should be smooth like water. I thought that was such a great description of what this is. Such technical difficulty, but with such smoothness and style. And it should look easy.
Absolutely, and somebody like Alexandra, who is the 2019 Montpellier World Challenge Cup freestyle champion, knows a little bit about smooth, flowy parkour runs.
As parkour continues to garner global attention and evolve and change and be featured in bigger competitions like this, you would hope that it would keep some of this, you know, stay true to its roots, which I know that those who are close to this sport are passionate about, that this interaction with fans, this carefree, smooth, easy way, and relationships between, you know, teammates and people who are involved in this would stay the same, because that feels, Sam, like an integral part of what this is about. It has its own identity, it has its own stamp, which I think is why those who are inside the sport of parkour are so protective over it and want to make sure that however it advances, it remains the same in some ways.
The conversations that I've had with individuals that are at the heart of the sport are trying to do exactly just that. That's why they're working hard to preserve really the culture of this community and keeping as much of the same as they can.
So we will step away for just a second, come back, wrap things up with parkour. America's on top right now in the overall competition as we get one last look at an electric event here at Aurora Games, and that's a very bright future. We'll be back.
changes. They're giving me updated stuff.
All right, welcome back to the Aurora Games here in Albany, figuring out the scoring and kind of putting things together from parkour. I want to make sure we're right before we give that to you. But for now, let's check in with Sam. Sam, who are you with?
Thanks, Carolyn. I'm with Camilla, and she was the top scorer of the speed competition. What did you think about the course here tonight?
I love it to be, mainly I love it to be here and to train with my friends and the other girls. The course was really cool with a lot of changes, like in the course, like going straight and going to the right and going to the left, and it was kind of sketchy. And because of that, I love it to do this, and I'm really happy that I made the fastest time. So yeah, I think it's it. Sorry.
Thank you, Camilla. And right next to her, we have Silky Solfrank, who wowed us with the style competition. What did you think about your performance tonight?
Oh, it was okay. It was more chill and more taking care of the style and the flow. Not really hard tricks, because it's my first competition. It's my first parkour competition, so I wanted to. It's already like super. I'm so nervous still.
You did such a good job of looking relaxed, calm, cool, and collected. How did you do that before such an important competition?
You know, it's just being myself. When I do parkour and move how I want, it's just chilled movement. It's what I do. I do parkour because I feel comfortable with it, and I'm not doing stuff I'm not 100% comfortable with, so especially not at competition. So I felt so great. I was good.
We know you just saw the course this morning, and a very important part about being a successful parkour athlete is how adaptable you are. How do you prepare for a competition like this?
I actually don't prepare for a competition. It's just, I don't know, I just do what I do while I train. Like when I do train and want to film something for, let's say, Instagram or something, I prep a run. I do the run several times. So that's what we do here. We came here, we saw the course, we were like, okay, these are the things which are possible, which are doable for us. So we train them and then try to connect them, and that's just how a run works.
All right, thank you, Silky. Carolyn, as you heard from Silky, the key to doing this is to practice a lot of times on Instagram.
It's a new world, Sam, of social media. What can I say? I barely understand it. All right, let's take a look at the scores here. Team World just on top, 120.1 to 119.4. So basically, what happened here is that parkour was split evenly right down the middle at 34 apiece. The Americans came out and they won the speed competition 19 to 15, and then the world countered and won the style competition 19 to 15. So they have evenly split. And as we look at the cumulative scoring, with still more to come, Team World just right on top here as we get set for aesthetic gymnastics, which is absolutely beautiful. And we'll bring you floor as well. Stick with us. We'll step away, come right back. Welcome back to the 2019 Aurora Games as we take a look at our I Love New York one-of-a-kind moment. Alexandra Shevchenko here putting on a show for the fans in Albany.
She was so impressive to watch.
Incredible.
What makes her unique is those transitions from one element to the next and the difficult skills that she adds, just like here as she dismounts onto the ground to finish up her parkour run.
That was a really exciting introduction for fans to parkour, something that doesn't fall under the umbrella of gymnastics, but is certainly something that people are going to be seeing a lot more of in the years to come. We'll step away for just a second. The World on Top and our competition will be back after this.
Sponsor of figure skating, Muscle Moves Applesauce is made with 100% American-grown apples. When you reach for a snack, make it healthy and delicious with the homemade taste of Muscle Moves Applesauce. Set in the heart of the majestic Adirondack Mountains, the Lake George Glens Falls area is the perfect location for your next sport. Restaurants and casual outdoor setting and convenient parking. Now celebrating 60 years, Stuyvesant Plaza is proud to present a beach volleyball competition during the Aurora Games. Tonight's gymnastics competition is presented by Dunkin', featuring the return of the 6-deal win promotion. Beginning this week, every Dunkin' guest who purchases a large or extra large beverage will have a chance to win great prizes. The Aurora Games run on Dunkin'.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Aurora Games. The night winding down, but we are not out of action. In fact, there's plenty more still to come. And the next thing on the docket is aesthetic gymnastics. This is really exciting for those who may not be familiar. These performances, just under about 3 minutes in leg, Sam, and they incorporate a lot of different things. Dance and gymnastics, synchronized movements, solo elements. It's really a special treat for those who are here.
It's a sport that really is derived from rhythmic and acrobatic gymnastics, although to me, like you mentioned, Carolyn, the beauty, strength, and group uniformity is reminiscent of synchronized swimming without the water. I know you can expect to see a variety of body movements, leaps, jumps, balances, and lifts in a themed routine that's, like you mentioned, around 2.5 minutes.
Let's check in with Miss Val now for a little bit more on aesthetic gymnastics. Val.
I am here with a performer with the American team of the aesthetic group gymnastics. Her name is Fernanda, and she is going to tell us, I'm sorry, getting a lot of feedback here. She's going to tell us, how did aesthetic gymnastics start in the United States?
So aesthetic group gymnastics started in my club, which is back in San Diego. A coach from Europe, she decided to teach us and see if we liked it. So, and we did like it, so we started to continue it as like a serious sport.
And how did you all become the national team?
So in our first season, in our first year of being together, we went to 4 World Cups and 1 World Championships, and in all those competitions we made finals. So we got the title of National Team of the United States of America.
We're so excited to have you here. Fernanda, please welcome your team for the competition.
All right, Ms. Val, thank you very much. And as you just heard there, so these teams consist of about 6 to 10 gymnasts on the competition carpet at a time. And Team America tonight is actually the USA Junior National Team. They're based in San Diego. They've been ranked in the top 10 in the world the last 2 years. They're a really impressive group of young athletes, Sam, who are going to show us something that many people here haven't seen before.
And although it's a relatively new sport here in America, they're a relatively new group team. They have qualified to every event final in every World Cup and World Championships that they have attended. So there's a lot of potential with these individuals. It's like the music started before they were in their place. I knew they were going to catch it. I gotta say, Carolyn, when they were in the middle of the routine, I just took a second to look around the arena. Not one person was talking. Everybody's eyes were fixated on aesthetic group gymnastics. Team USA, the junior national team from San Diego. What a beautiful performance and a treat for everybody.
Absolutely spectacular. Such a great way to reset here. They brought energy into the building. I love the choice of music. What a wonderful performance to showcase aesthetic gymnastics from this group that is really strongly dedicated to their sport, training 15 to 25 hours a week and certainly ready to perform. We'll be back. Welcome back to the 2019 Aurora Games. What a wonderful start to aesthetic gymnastics. A great introduction from the Americas, who are now on top, as we check in once again with Miss Val. Val.
I am here with two of our world aesthetic gymnastics gymnasts, Alina and Taya. Alina, how long have you been doing aesthetic gymnastics, and what do you love about it?
I'm doing aesthetic group gymnastics since I was 6 years old, and now I'm 17. I like to spend my time with my teammates and enjoy performance. And also, I think this sport is good for women's health.
Wonderful. Thank you. Taya, this is a new sport for us. What do you hope the future of aesthetic gymnastics holds for in the future?
We would like to see these sports in the near future in Olympics. It is beautiful female sports, and we hope young girls will go inspired to sports and hope practice in Olympics someday.
Absolutely wonderful. Give it up. We want to see aesthetic gymnastics in the Olympics, right? Please welcome your team. We're excited to see you perform.
Ms. Val, thank you. That was just beautiful. That really underscores what the Aurora Games are all about. To see international athletes have the opportunity to come to the United States and do what they love is very special. And Sam, as you know, this is an all-Ukrainian team. They're a very strong contender internationally. This is their first trip to the United States for all the athletes competing here. It's wonderful that they're here.
And I think that is so beautiful what she mentioned. Having those dreams to have AGG, or aesthetic group gymnastics as they like to call it, in the Olympics someday. We want to remind you that the Aurora Games will make history. It's the first time that all of these disciplines are completing under one roof, and the first time we're getting to see AGG on television.
See what they've got. So the key here, Sam, synchronicity, and I think they delivered. What a performance.
It is so beautiful to watch, and I know the judges, even though it's hard to think that there are judges because it's such a beautiful performance, There's a technical judge, artistic judge, and executive judge looking for those tiny, small execution errors that maybe, Carolyn, you or I wouldn't even see because we were so blown away for how beautiful the artistry was.
One of the highlights of the evening for sure for both teams as we wait to get the score here. Team America picked up a 9.4 in this competition overall.
It's important to note that this sport is a discipline of gymnastics that developed from the Finnish women's gymnastics. And actually, the Finnish Gymnastics Federation is one of Finland's largest sport federations with 374 clubs consisting of 130,000 members. It's the most popular gymnastics discipline in the country.
Wonderful
so it
display
is
of
sport growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful display of sportsmanship there as well, as the world team picks up an 8.6. So Team America's edging them with a 9.4 and only a 1/10 of a point separating the two teams here. As we step away for a moment, we'll be right back with more from Albany. Young athletes perform, we do have to address how difficult a time it's been in the sport of gymnastics in the wake of that far-reaching sexual abuse scandal that has affected countless young women. The world of youth sports fraught with bullying and harassment and sexual abuse, and there are a lot fighting for legislation to protect future athletes from suffering in the same ways. Donna DeVerona has more on that.
My appreciation for gymnastics is homegrown. My sister, actress and director Joanna Kearns, the star of ABC's Growing Pains, qualified for the 1968 Olympic trials, and brother Kurt was a junior national gymnastics champion. So in 1976, as a member of the ABC Olympic broadcast team, I could not imagine that one day I would travel to Romania to interview Montreal's most famous star, gymnast Nadia Comaneci. Unfortunately, she was being held captive under dictator Nicolae Ceausescu's regime, and I knew Nadia was suffering. When I learned she had fled the country, I wasn't surprised, but delighted that I'd been assigned to try and find her. Hers was a desperate and brave act. Truth is, brave defines our gymnast. In this perfect storm of women facing down those who've abused them, our gymnasts stand out. For every parent, grandparent, friend, and family member, the thought must be, not my child. So what is the solution? The United States Olympic Committee claims their Safe Sport initiative is the answer. Underfunded, understaffed, and inundated with cases, Safe Sport is hamstrung. So Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal and Republican Jerry Moran have proposed a bill directing the United States Olympic Committee to take $20 million out of its own budget to enhance the Safe Sport program. The bill will be marked up next month. However, if the leadership in Washington wants to truly make a sustainable impact, Congress must allocate the funding itself. In this way, Safe Sport will be truly independent of the Olympic Committee. Additionally, the best way to keep our youth safe is to insist all organizations serving youth adopt procedures, provide toolkits, conduct background checks, and be diligent in detecting abusive or predatory behaviors. It's all our responsibility.
Very powerful piece there from Donna Di Verona. A look at her there, Jackie Joyner-Kersee and Nadia Comaneci, who of course she discussed in her essay tonight. And I have the pleasure of introducing you to Judge Rosemary Aquilina, who presided over the sentencing of USA Dr. Larry Nassar. Judge, we're glad that you're with us. You were able to have an opportunity to give a voice to hundreds and hundreds of women who up until that point did not have a voice. And you just heard Donna Di Verona talk about those who are protected under the USOC, but there's a lot of work to be done. This is a cultural issue. This is a society issue. How do we protect everybody on this issue?
We have to start by believing. One of the problems that we've had is that the girls have not been listened to. So we need to believe. We need to use the proper language, not blame, not shame. Teach every girl, every boy, their body parts, and that there's a right to informed consent. Ask questions. So if someone touches you and you don't want it, you say stop, and they must stop. We have to rework the language and the training.
You heard Donna Di Verona tell a little bit of Nadia's story, and there's a culture of fear where those who are in charge say what goes and it goes. How important is it to start at the level of some of these new gymnasts and changing that culture so that their voices can be heard?
We absolutely need to change that. The problem is they are trying to speak out, and then they're blackballed, they're blackmailed. They are afraid because then they lose their career. We have to stop that. We need independent investigation. We need to make sure that it's always safety over money and medals, and we need to make sure that they have equity, so pay equity, and there's no bullying. Right now, there's no safety protections whatsoever, so they're brought down by not paying them properly, by shaming them. It's abuse.
We've seen legislation that's been proposed. We've heard about Safe Sport. From your vantage point, being inside this issue, being so passionate about this issue, spending your life working on this issue, what is the most important step that needs to be taken now to push things forward in the right direction?
USO PC cannot regulate themselves. We need Congress. We also need an independent body, an inspector general, who can come in and investigate. And we need a portion of the proceeds that are earned through the Olympics to go back to the girls for their safety, for their legal bills, and also for the training and everything that's needed, because Congress will only fund so far. The money is here, but the people at the top are keeping it.
It's an important issue, Judge, and we're glad that you could be a part of the Aurora Games and also join us to share your insight into the topic, as there's still a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work to be done. Everyone needs to use their voice.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
As we get set for floor gymnastics, which is the last event here on a very busy day at the Aurora Games. We'll step away for a quick minute, we'll set up the floor, and then we'll show you the athletes who are taking part in the last event here on this night when we come back.
Presented by Duncan, featuring the return of the six-wheel winning motion. Beginning this week, every Dunkin' guest who purchases a large or extra large beverage will have a chance to win great prizes. The Aurora Games run on Dunkin'.
Welcome back, everybody, to Albany, New York, home of the inaugural Aurora Games, and we are closing in on the final discipline of tonight's competition between Team Americas and Team World. And if you take a look at the score here, Sam, this is pretty wild stuff. A 1/10 of a point separating these two teams, which means that in this last event, which is Florida, there's some heavy hitters in this competition, and they are going to make the difference to see who gets that pivotal point for the Babe Didrikson Trophy at the end of this thing.
I've seen lots of competition where it comes down to the last event, the floor exercise. So I know this is going to be a really exciting event to watch.
We can't wait as we take a look at our TJ Maxx Celebrates You moment. TJ Maxx, a proud sponsor here of the Aurora Games. It's been such a fun night, and you know, I just can't get enough of these shots. They are so fun to see girls of all ages. Everybody's always excited to get on the Jumbotron, but you know, a lot of these young people may or may not realize that they're witnessing something that is brand new. This is history being made. It's a really special thing here in Albany, New York. We're glad you're a part of it, watching with us at home. We're going to step away just quickly, and then we'll be back to wrap things up, the final event here on night 2 of the Aurora Games. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. All right, we are getting closer to the end of the competition on night 2. As you can see, we are basically neck and neck in the overall score for the Babe Didrikson Trophy here at the first Aurora Games. And a little bit of fun here from Team Americas and also Team World as we get set up for the floor routine. The crowd is getting into it. The energy, Sam, has been lifted. I think the aesthetic gymnastics routines really help to amplify what we've been seeing in here. And now we are going to look at the floor. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to see here and how this is set up.
Well, it's really going to be a combination of all the other disciplines we saw. The strength, the power from the power tumblers earlier, the artistry that we saw from the AGG, and the expressions, the creativity from the parkour, and the balance from balance beam. So it's the crescendo event after all 5 of these disciplines, and I know the crowd is on their feet getting ready to celebrate the end of this competition.
We are going to see a number of athletes that we saw earlier on in the broadcast. If you're with us as we take a look at the rosters to see who's going to be competing here, we've got McKenna Kelly, Alicia Bourne, Caitlin Ohashi. We've seen a number of those names before, although Alicia will be making her debut here. Courtney McGregor, Dayusha Francis, Tatiana Nabieva as well will be competing in the floor tonight as we take an opportunity to check in again with Miss Val. Val, take it away.
We are here with my most favorite event because it combines all the elements of great gymnastics and On my right, we have wait, time out. You guys, seriously.
Miss Val, tonight we're one team.
Oh, that's what we call a mic drop. Courtney McGregor, take it away.
Miss Val, thank you. Miss Val, I think, has gone completely rogue. She took out her earpiece. She's orchestrating her own thing on the floor. I think it's great. And as we welcome in Nadia Comaneci now to the broadcast, what a wonderful way to punctuate the end of the show to have you with us. We know your credentials: 5-time Olympic gold medalist, first Olympic gymnast to score a perfect 10 in competition, and also chairperson of these games, very involved in these games. What has your impression been so far of what we've seen?
I just love it. I just said yesterday that the women have earned their own platform, and it's great to be here to see history made, and I'm hoping that this event is going to grow, adding more sports, and also I love the fact that they are scoring from 10. You know what I mean about the 10.
You do have an affinity for the number 10. You've certainly made it famous. As we get into the competition here, Nadia, we'll have you sit with us for just a little bit and offer your impressions of some of the artistry and technicality that we see here as we get started.
Sure.
Well, it's a close competition, Nadia, and Courtney McGregor is on your Team World is a teammate for Team World. What do you think about how your team's done so far in tonight's competition?
It's done very good, actually. I was talking with my other teammate, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, because she said sometimes your team did better on balance beam. And I said, they are all doing great. I mean, it's a great competition. I like the idea that's very complex. It's almost like you see like extreme sports, multi-sports for women in one arena.
I couldn't agree more, and I think it's very clear from the athlete's face just how much fun they're having, and it's a completely different environment than a World Championship Games or the Olympic Games. So it's fun to see these athletes compete on a different platform.
Yes, and they love this. I think this will help them a lot in the future, what they decide to do. And I like the fact, as you said, that they are going on the floor in between events and they just want the public to be with them. They cheer and they jump and they dance. You don't see that in the Olympics, though.
Exactly. Like you mentioned, there is such a skill and a discipline that comes with artistic gymnastics. And in this sort of event, it breaks it up. It breaks up the monotony of competition and what we've seen through Caitlin Ohashi, just how important it is to bring that joy through sport. What was your favorite part about gymnastics?
I like this kind of shows, actually, the competition where you can show a little more than what you do in Olympics. I really love it. And I was so impressed by Caitlin on balance beam. I mean, I gave her a 10, but don't tell anybody.
We're going to have you as part of the judging panel next time.
So Courtney McGregor of New Zealand picking up a score of 9.7. Pretty solid way to start things off for your team. Nadia, as we get set for our next competitor, McKenna Kelly of the United States, the 4-time All-American who we saw a little bit earlier on in the show. She has scored a perfect 10 on the floor before in her NCAA competition. Very successful career at LSU and now looking to.
I just have the feeling that I see Mary Lou Retton compete.
She does have the smile.
The smile and also the
facial expression.
Yeah, the same thing that Mary Lou had, and the joy, you know. And she's very springy.
And she was pumping that crowd up too, because like we mentioned on balance beam, McKenna Kelly is one of the 3 athletes that retired in April. So she got back into shape, and it's not easy to get back into floor routine shape, is it, Nadia?
No, it's not, and also the beam is very narrow, you know that, you know? Wow, that was a big double top, yes. And she was smiling on the beam too, did you see that?
Yeah, I think it helps her compete, maybe calms the nerves just a little bit.
Yeah.
I think she just made eye contact with you, Nadia. She's quite the entertainer.
Nadia gave her a thumbs up. Back at you, girlfriend.
Oh, wow. So I like the fact that they do 3 passes, which means that they have time to do artistic, which we miss that sometimes. And when people are thinking only about the skills, then we're missing the artistry. And this is called artistic gymnastics, so we need a combination of both.
Absolutely, and we see that a lot in NCAA gymnastics because the rules are different than what you're talking about in the FIG system, those international competitions. Simone Biles, like we saw in the last competition, doing new skills, has her own tumbling pass. So it's good to have a combination of, the Simone Biles innovation and McKenna Kelly. What we're seeing here is that performance quality.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Simone is one of a kind, so, I like to buy one of her legs to be able to jump.
If I was half as good as Simone.
Did I just hear Nadia Comaneci say she wants to buy one of Simone
Biles'
legs?
Yes.
You don't go to the store and buy muscles, Carolyn? Finishing front tuck to that back tuck into a stag. We talk about innovation and adaptability. She actually created that tumbling pass earlier in the warm-up today. So these girls are showing a little bit of that adaptability from the parkour athletes as well.
So a 9.8 for McKenna Kelly as we step away, and we will come back. We've got plenty of action still to come. Very close score here in Albany. Stay with us. The Aurora Games is brought to you by TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx is proud to support the Aurora Games. Max U, Max Life, TJ Maxx. And by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800 State Farm. The games are also brought to you by Mountain Dew. Do should do. We welcome you back to the Aurora Games with Danusha Francis, a six-time All-American, currently trains in Great Britain. She competes for Jamaica and representing Team World here tonight as she gets set for her flow routine. Looking loose as well, Sam.
She loves to compete with a smile on her face, dancing around before she gets going. I was lucky enough to be on a team with her at UCLA. We used to call each other Bonnie and Clyde. So I'm very used to watching her compete. She's one of those athletes that you always have the utmost confidence in when she steps out to the competition floor.
Talking about confidence. Did you like
Aurora
the
Games
beam?
fans, next
I
up,
loved the beam. Did you
Danusha
like beam?
What
Francis.
originality.
She's always been one to innovate like we saw on beam. Even when she has a little bit of a mistake, she picks it right back up, and we're going to see that innovation, that flexibility and grace here on the floor. Starting with a 2.5 twist. talk about how these Aurora Games, especially in tonight's competition, it's bringing together 5 disciplines in that unity, that bond, females supporting females. All of the other competitors are surrounding the floor, and I'm actually hearing the younger girls in the stands cheer for these competitors. Come on, Danusha, and I think that's something really special to get that crowd involved.
Yes, and I like the spontaneity of the girls when they said, we are only one team at this event.
Yes, I loved it. They're coming together and they're really showing that this event is more than just sports.
Nadia, you mentioned your love of artistry. What do you make of Danusha Francis's ability to really perform and excel in that way?
It's really beautiful. Everything she does is like so, the lines are beautiful, overextension and everything she does. It's really hard to get to that level of artistry. It takes a lot of work for that too.
Crowd certainly responding, Sam, to her performance as we take a look at the first pass here.
She did a round of backhand spring, 2.5 twists. Opens up right before the landing. Very controlled, beautiful finish. Nadia Comaneci just got ghosted by Danusha Francis. She wants a high five. She finally got it.
Got it.
As Danusha is making the rounds, high-fiving all of the young girls that hopefully want to be as flexible as her as one day. I'm still trying.
So a 9.9 for Danusha. Great score, and one that the Americas could really use with how tight this competition is right now.
I could see that. I'm seeing Jackie Joyner over there, so she's pumped up.
You know, you guys have been talking a lot of trash this week at the Aurora Games. Jackie Joyner-Kersee.
Us?
Yes, that's right. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, the coach of Team Americas, and you, of course, coach of Team World. You're really giving her a hard time, you know. She's got a great sense of humor.
Yes,
I think she should spend the whole week laughing at you.
She does. I told her that she will have to go on a balance beam at some point, and she said, no, I'm not going.
Does that mean you're putting your track shoes on?
I might switch sport.
If you could do any other sport here tonight, which would it be?
Tonight?
Yes.
Just the one I know, gymnastics.
Another look at University of Florida Gator Alicia Bourne. We saw her earlier on the beam, and now she gets ready fully in the zone as she prepares her float.
Starting with a big double back, and the last time that she competed a floor team, she became the 2019 NCAA floor co-champion. Not to mention, she's an 18-time All-American. Carolyn and Nadia, in case you can't tell, her floor music is the evolution of dance.
She's got so much energy. I also love that she received a degree in women's studies as well. She's passionate about women's issues and hopefully can be a voice moving forward.
She's mentioned how much fun she's had at this event. She actually had tickets to the Jonas Brothers concert on Friday and didn't end up going because she was having so much fun bonding with the other athletes.
So much personality. Not everybody can do those moves, I just want to tell you.
Nadia, I bet you could do it.
Yeah?
Yeah. We'll practice later.
Of course.
Finishing there with a gator chomp. She just graduated with the University of Florida, so it's only fitting she incorporates that into her last floor routine.
She was an 18-time All-American, 2018 SEC Floor Exercise Champion. She's been an All-SEC honoree, certainly done the Florida Gators proud, and I'm sure anybody from Gator Nation would be thrilled to see her punctuate that routine with the Gator Chomp. Really, really fun, impressive routine from Alicia Bourne.
good finish. High dynamic jumps, even though it was a little bit of a lower difficulty pass. She added that style factor, the stag jump at the end and transitioning right into her dance. I bet the parkour judges would have been proud of her for that, for that tumbling pass.
Yeah, Nadia, what do you think? Do you have a career in parkour later on? And
this is
now
the
that
first
you're
time I
wrapped
have
up?
ever seen anything like that. You know, I've seen parkour outside, but not inside.
What'd you think?
I think if you have the base of gymnastics, I think any of those gymnasts who compete here today can try that. Don't you think so?
I agree. A lot of them have gymnastics backgrounds.
We'll step away for just a moment. As you can see, 2 tenths separating the Americas and Team World in gymnastics and parkour. We'll be back with Tatiana Nabieva, Caitlin Ohashi still to come. Stay with us. Welcome back. The crowd absolutely electric here as we get down to our final 2 competitors. One of the things that's fantastic about the end of the night is that you see the aesthetic group gymnasts, you see the parkour athletes, everybody's gathered around the floor. They want to see how this ends, and the competition is very, very close right now. 0.2 of a second separating the Americas and Team World in this competition as we get set for Tatiana Nabieva of Russia.
You see her teammate, Danusha Francis, dancing around with her, keeping her loose before this performance, giving her a little pep talk.
Aurora Games.
She was a little
Next
nervous
up,
on the balance beam.
Tatiana
You thought so?
Nabieva.
Yeah, I saw that a little bit. I was very close, and I said, calm down.
Yes, I agree, but I think she did a wonderful job finishing her routine. Oh, triple full. That's the most difficult tumbling pass we have seen here tonight. Beautiful stuck second pass. I had a chance to speak with her last night at dinner, and I asked her who her gymnastics idols, and she said you and Shannon Miller.
She did?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
How does it feel to be such a legend and an idol to not just Tatiana, but so many individuals here competing, to me and lots of people in the crowd?
Well, think about it. I competed such a long time ago, and we live in a world that we tend to forget what happened last year or 2 years ago. Just to meet with people and saying that you inspire me with what you did, it's just amazing. And, you know, it came from the parents. The parents told to the little ones, because all of them that I met today, they're little ones, you know, little athletes, little gymnasts. They saw me on, you know, YouTube.
So what you're saying is that it's a cycle. Tatiana looks up to you, and all of these girls in the crowd are looking up to her, and it's what a beautiful way to pass it along and to inspire all the next generation coming up.
Exactly. Passing the baton.
Absolutely. Certainly, if you live in this area and your parents were lucky enough to bring you here to watch these world-class competitors, it's a memory that a lot of the girls here will not forget. A perfect 10.
Wow.
For Tatiana Nabieva, the first one of the night.
What a special moment here. Finishing up this competition, hugs all around. Really a highlight for me in that competition was the difficulty in that first pass, which was a triple full.
That is exactly the sort of performance that Team World needed at this critical juncture in the competition. The gold medalist and team at the 2010 World Championships stepping up and delivering when she needed to most for her team. As we get set for the final competitor of this event. This is what many people have been waiting for, the flow routine from Caitlin Ohashi.
Speaking of perfect 10, she scored 11 of them in college, so she knows how to do it.
She needs a 9.9 to tie or a 10 to win.
We'll just let her routine to talk, yes?
Yes. It's been a while since she's performed this floor routine, but it looks just the same. The performance quality is just as amazing as everyone saw at the critical point in her season.
Said she wouldn't miss an opportunity to participate in the Aurora Games after graduating college. She's been a role model for so many women, so many young girls. She's been an advocate for body shaming, for harassment, for all of the things that young women are dealing with these days. And they look at her and they just see pure light. And she's an entertainer at that. She is a real gift to the sport and to the Aurora Games.
What a way to finish that Proud Mary floor routine. And Nadia, I know you could check out the difference of that floor routine, which there was words. We allowed words in this competition to be included in the songs.
Yeah, I think sometimes you just let it play.
This is the deciding moment. You hear the crowd yelling 10, 10, 10.
The crowd is chanting for a 10.
That's going to be a 10 for the world and a 10 for the USA.
Don't go anywhere. When we return, Miss B will be back for a
So a look here at the final score. Team America is getting it done. Great performance on the floor, edging out by just that 1/10. What a way to round out the night. We'll take a quick break. We'll step away. One more look at Caitlin Ohashi, and we'll come back to wrap things up after this.
York one-of-a-kind moment. Couldn't be anything else. A perfect 10 for Caitlin Ohashi. Here, a look at her beam routine, an electric floor routine. And Sam, she comes up big when Team Americas needs her the most. What else would you expect?
Exactly. She wiped the cobwebs out, got back into competition shape, and put on another amazing performance for all of us here tonight.
As we check in with Miss Val.
Thank you all. You have been amazing. You guys have been such an amazing crowd. Thank you so much. It's time for the awards. Starting with Power Tumbling event. And the winner of that event is, oh, we're getting a drum roll here. Drum roll. The World Team. Moving on to balance beam. Yeah, oh, get it. Yeah. The winner of the balance beam event is the Americas. That's you guys. That's nice, yeah. Yeah, they're going, yay, who did that? I'm like, you did that. Cute, huh? Parkour. So exciting, you guys. Oh my gosh, so exciting. So exciting that it was a tie. It was a tie. Oh, it was a tie. Aesthetic gymnastics. Very, 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 very close. It came down to the Americas. Congratulations. And the ever-exciting floor exercise event. Let's give it up one more time for the Americas. And your event total, honestly, came down to a mere 2/10. I know. I know. Drum roll. The winner of the first ever Aurora Games event by a mere 2/10 is the Americas. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the greatest female athlete in the history of sport, Jackie Joyner-Kersee! And the great Nadia Comaneci!
Yes, thank you for joining us for night 2 of the Aurora Games. With their victory, Team America resulted in the lead at 2 games to 1. Tonight, be sure to join us tomorrow for day 3 and 5-time WNBA All-Star Lindsay Whalen.
And that is how you end night 2 of the Aurora Games. Never did I ever think I would see Jackie Joyner-Kersee and Nadia Comaneci take part in a flash mob. But you know what? I've seen all kinds of things at the Aurora Games, and they're such a great sport. Our thanks to Miss Val for coordinating that entire thing. It was such a beautiful moment at the end of this competition, especially to see Team Americas and Team World interact with each other, despite the fact that there was a competition, Sam. It's just a beautiful way to end the night.
Every sport doesn't end with a flash mob, Carolyn?
Not that I've seen, Sam.
Maybe they should start.
So here's an event recap. We just heard a little bit from Miss Val about how this all went down. So far in tennis, in case you're with us at the top of the show, the Americas won. So they got a point for the Babe Didrikson Trophy. Tonight, the Americans also winning again, so the work is on for Team World in the next couple of nights. Good thing is we've got a lot of stuff still to come. We've got basketball, we've got figure skating, ice hockey, beach volleyball, plenty more competition in the Aurora Games, as this is only night 2. Final thoughts, Sam, as we just wrap up gymnastics and parkour from here in Albany.
I thought it was such a successful night, starting with power tumbling and ending with floor exercise, combining all of these gymnastics disciplines. Every athlete was on their game and put on a great show for the kids in the audience.
Our coverage continues throughout the week. Tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern for basketball. For Samantha Pesci, Miss Val, and Carolyn Mano. Good night.